channel. My name is Lucy and I make videos on books, writing and cozy lifestyle. And in today's video, I want to give you a behind the scenes look at my process now that I have a literary agent and what the plans are essentially and what happens. Once you get a literary agent, what comes next? So before Christmas, I signed with Therese Cohen at Susanna Lee Agency and I've made a whole video about that announcement. So I will leave that link down below. But I really wanted to give you guys behind the scenes of what happens next because I think there's probably not a lot of videos on that on the internet in terms of what that process looks like and what happens next, which is a very, very exciting thing because you'll be surprised to know, or maybe not, but the moment you sign with a literary agent, it does not mean you get a book deal. And there is work that goes on between getting an agent and getting a book deal. And that's currently where I am in the cycle, I guess. Currently, I am working on edits that my agent has sent to me. And the purpose of this is to get my manuscript as ready for submission to publishing houses as possible. And agents obviously do this differently. Some are very hands-on in terms of edits and, you know, that kind of editorial process, and some aren't. But I would say probably most agents will give an author feedback on things they should change or tweak or make a bit better before they go through the submission process to get a book deal. My agent sent me loads of brilliant notes, and most of the notes were character based because that was something that when I was drafting my novel, of course, you know, characters are important, but I really wanted to nail the plot, I guess, because it is historical fantasy. I really wanted to evoke the kind of setting, so it's set in Regency London. I wanted to make sure the historical kind of accuracy was right, you know, for the time period, but also that the world building in terms of the magic system, if you call it a magic system, the supernatural elements of my story were also believable as well. So I feel like my characterization was quite light, which is why getting the feedback I did about kind of adding lots of more scenes on a character basis is something that, you know, makes sense to me because it is something that I did quite light in my initial draft of this book. So I'm very, very excited to be cracking on with edits today. I've given myself a self-imposed deadline of the end of the month, and I told my agent that, you know, realistically I'll get these done by the end of January. I've given myself most weekends in January completely free just so I can properly crack on with these edits. So that is what I'm currently doing now. That is the next process after you get an agent, after you've signed. Usually the next step is this book going to be ready for submitting to editors? And if it's not, let's do some tweaks, do some edits. And another thing that my agent has asked me to think up was title suggestions. So I had a working title for this book called Season of Mists, and that's something that you will have heard me mention in videos on my channel. It's always meant to be a working title, but I've gotten quite like attached to it, even though it doesn't really make sense in terms of the overall plot of my novel. So I've come up with 6 alternate titles, and I think me and my agent like 2 or 3 of those, and 2 of those are probably most likely gonna be what my book is called. So I'm really, really excited about this next step, and this weekend I am really focusing on getting those edits well underway. And I also want to show you guys my editing process and how I'm going to be planning on implementing the edit notes that my agent has given me. So let's get going with our book edits. So hi everyone, I've had a very, very productive day. It is currently 6:30 in the evening, and honestly, I've just been adding in a load of extra scenes today. One of my edit notes from my agent was to add in a kind of like separate strand to my main character, because whilst the main plot is very dramatic, very heavy, and she has this kind of big ambition, we also kind of agreed that she needed something extra to kind of bring a bit of, I don't know, just gravity to her, and also to make her a little bit more sympathetic and likable, because she is an aristocratic woman in Regency society, and you know, she is obviously in a very privileged position. So I've added in this whole separate strand where she does a kind of like charity work, and I have had the best time writing these scenes. When I tell you, it's just so much fun. I've done so much kind of research on different charity aspects. I don't want to give too much away, but I've done a lot of research around, you know, kind of charities in the Regency and different asylums, different kind of orphanages, and it's just been a whale of a time. So for my latest draft, I started off as it being 91,000 words, and now it's 95,107. So I've written probably about 3,000 or 4,000 words today, just those extra scenes. And I really do feel like it's so much easier doing the characterization when you've already written the whole book and you've gotten the plot out. And that's really what I'm doing today. It's just adding in characterization, adding in those scenes where, not that I felt it was wasted in my initial draft, but I was desperate to kind of keep the plot moving and keep it pacey. And now, you know, going back and really looking at these characters and bringing them to life even more has just been an utter joy. So when my agent sent me an email with all the edits in that email, what I did was I opened a Google Doc so I could really have it there in non-email format, and it was just super clear. And then what I did from that, which is a load of repetition, but I find that my brain really takes things in when I handwrite things, I basically typed all that up into a notebook, and there I came up with ideas of how I could implement the edits suggested. So I thought up of specific scenes and where I would put those additional scenes. So that's what I'm currently doing. I'm working through the different parts of the edit, the different scenes I need to add, and also I've given myself deadlines for each of the areas of the edit. So for example, my main character, you know, I need to get all of her stuff done and all of her edits made by the end of this weekend. And then next weekend, I'm gonna tackle 2 other characters. And then hopefully I'll be finishing up on the final weekend in kind of 3 weekends time. Another kind of key thing that my agent did suggest was making the novel a bit bigger. My draft was quite a lean draft. It was 91,000 words when I queried it, and for a historical fantasy novel, that's on the lighter side. And I was quite aware of that when I was writing it, but I really just wanted to make sure that I didn't overwrite it. It's easier for me to add scenes in rather than cut scenes out. So yeah, a big job for me also is to really pad out the novel and make it a little bit thicker. So that's what we're doing, and I love doing that. So tonight, I'm just gonna kind of round off here, and I will pick back up with you tomorrow, where we're gonna be continuing editing this novel, and let's hope we can get a lot of words written tomorrow. Hello everyone, it is the next day, and I'm coming at you very bare and fresh-faced, but it's currently about 1:45 in the afternoon, and I've had quite a slow, very relaxing morning where I've gotten up, went on a really nice walk, we had lunch, and now I'm only really just sitting down to do my edits. And I would consider yesterday a really good productive day because I did manage to write a lot of words. And also I feel like a lot more aware of like how those edits are going to fit into my wider story, if that makes sense. And I went into a bit of detail yesterday about the edits I was actually doing in terms of the characterization work. It's also worth saying that I drafted my novel in a tool called Scrivener, and Scrivener is really great for drafting, but I haven't really used Scrivener to edit before and like properly, you know, actually work on it once the draft is done. So if you have any tips on how to use Scrivener for editing, let me know, but I prefer to have my document in a big Google Doc. So now I'm working on my manuscript, which is on a Google Doc, and that way I'm able to leave myself comments and I can kind of see the overall picture, if that makes sense. And do let me know if you'd like a Scrivener tour or anything like that on how I draft a novel in Scrivener. I would love to do kind of more, you know, how-to videos and give you guys my tips on how I draft novels and write novels, but that is definitely for another video. So do let me know if you'd like something like that. I'm currently about to add in another scene for my main character, just to give her a little bit more background, you know, and this is a kind of side hobby of hers that my agent pointed out would be good to kind of give her some more depth by giving her another hobby apart from the hobby that's sort of her like ambition and the driving force of the whole novel. So I'm gonna add that in. I've added a few other scenes of this hobby, and I'm at chapter 13 now, and I'm gonna add in another scene which is gonna be quite like emotional, I guess, because The scene involves a infirmary and, you know, kind of sickness and stuff like that. And I've done a lot of research into Regency ailments and, you know, what people were dealing with back then, the kind of approaches that surgeons and physicians would have taken for these ailments. So I feel like my research is kind of coming off here, which is really good because I do feel really comfortable writing about this topic. So anyway, I'm gonna give myself about 45 minutes to add in this chapter. I probably won't need that long, but I do like to give myself a time limit because time limits really help me, and they help me kind of do that Pomodoro method for my writing, and I just find it's really useful. So little tip for you, if you are struggling with your writing, definitely set yourself a time limit, map out your timestamps for the day, and give yourself little writing sprints. I find that super useful. Another weekend, a weekend later, and I'm going back for a full afternoon of my edits. And honestly, I am not that I'm hitting a bit of a wall, but like I'm aware of how much I've still got to do, and I've given myself a self-imposed deadline of like the 28th of January or something, which is like creeping up. That's just like, that's like 2 weeks away or less than that, and there's still so much to do. I like won't go into zoomed in detail, but like I've got this to do, all of these pages to do, and time is a ticking basically. So yeah, even though I'm really enjoying everything, it is a lot of work, and I think like I have bitten off probably more than I can chew in terms of, you know, I talked about how one of the kind of edits back from my agent was to pad out the main character, to give her something else to her life, like, you know, another hobby, for example, to make her a bit more well-rounded. But like I have kind of made this like a kind of key part of her now, and now I've got to follow through and actually update it throughout the rest of the novel, and I'm like, oh my god, it's just an overwhelming task. So even though I'm still enjoying it, it's meaty. There's a lot still to do, and I just need to get out of my head and just do the job. I just need to do the writing, you know? So that's my job for today, and hopefully tomorrow afternoon, I do have a friend coming over tomorrow, Sana from Books and Quills, which will be lovely. We're gonna just have like a little YouTube session, which will be really good because I feel like I'm in a place with YouTube at the minute where I'm like, what videos do I want to create? What do people want to watch? So yeah, that should be nice, but it does mean that tomorrow isn't really going to be a writing day. It's going to be more of a YouTube focused day. It's hit a bit of a stage now where I'm like, my job is extremely stressful and busy at the minute, and I've also got this new responsibility in my life, which is my writing now. So balancing all is something that's in the back of my mind, just constantly screaming at me. So that's kind of the flip side, I guess, of like the exciting part of like getting an agent, is you're committing yourself to producing writing and books for hopefully a very long time. And whilst that's exciting, I haven't sold any books yet, so I can't support myself from writing. So this is the thing where it's like balancing it, and currently it's a hobby, but hopefully it will become a situation where it does become my career. But until then, I've just got to balance everything. So rant over. I'm obviously feeling a little bit stressed out, but I've got a big cup of tea. I'm gonna just put my headphones in, focus for the afternoon and just get the words down. That's all I can do. That's literally my only job. Basically, my goal for today is to finish the first part of my edit, which is to weave in this backstory, this subplot, giving my main character a much more well-rounded feel, and like she's got more of her, you know? So that is a big part. If I can get all of that done today, weave that through the whole novel, jobs are good in. So we are checking in. It is the 20th of January and I have not really done much editing this week and it's becoming a bit of a problem. So today I need to furiously do as much as I can. I think I mentioned in the last clip, I managed to get through a major chunk of my edits last week and kind of get those done. That was my main character backstory, weaving in a kind of secondary story to her character. And now I've got to do the rest of them, which I'm really hoping won't take too long. There are 2 other characters in my book where, you know, I basically just got to pad them out a little bit more, got to develop their character, make them more likable. So that's the plan for today and tomorrow. As I mentioned, it is Saturday, the 20th of Jan, and I have said that I would hand my edited book back on the 28th. So I have like 2 weekends, this weekend and next weekend, to get all my edits done. So it is currently, what time is it? 8 minutes past 3. I've had quite a kind of productive start. So I got up and went for brunch with a friend, and then I tried to just do some editing in a coffee shop. And whilst that was helpful, I also just don't think I'm that person who can really focus in coffee shops. So that was not ideal, but I did manage to kind of get into the zone a little bit. I've done some things today, but I basically need to do a lot more. So that is the plan for this afternoon. I am going to Pomodoro method this. So if you're unaware of what that is, that's where you work in like 20-25 minute bursts with a 5-minute break. So I am going to set a timer for myself for, let's say, 20 minutes. So if you can see, oh no, I put it to 22. 20 minutes just to get myself started. Let's go. I'm almost at 100,000 words. So it is 20 to 6 and I've done quite well this afternoon actually. I've managed to write a completely new scene that I was meant to write between my main character and a supporting character to kind of like add in an additional kind of female friendship, which is great. And my word count is sitting at 99,644 words. So I'm really happy with that. I think the goal was always to try and get it up to 100,000 or between 100,000 and 110. So I'm kind of in a good zone at the minute and I still have more scenes to add. So I would say I'm so close to the end of these edits. I would say hopefully I'll have a full day tomorrow and I might be done. I will kind of see and give myself another weekend to just check that there isn't anything else that I need to add before sending it back to my agent. So we are so close. Today has been a good writing day and I'm very delighted. So it's been about a week since my last check-in, and since then I have cut all my hair off and I bought a new laptop. This is a 15-inch MacBook Air and I was very excited to be able to actually save up and buy this laptop because I have had my old laptop for 10 years. I bought it in 2014 and it was already old then. So yeah, I've kind of done really well here. But it was time to upgrade because obviously I'm going to be using a hell of a lot more of this laptop in terms of my writing. So I thought it was time for a cheeky little upgrade and honestly, I am in love with it. Anyway, a lot has changed since our last check-in because I think I'm done with my edits. I am kind of doubting myself, like in terms of how much more I should go through and try and, you know, tease things out and just go through one more final time, which is what I'm aiming to do today. and just check it, you know, check that I've actually addressed my agent's comments and that more can be brought out of the comments, if that makes sense. So one thing I really do want to do is, one of my characters is kind of the villain, I guess, and he is extremely charismatic and a bit of a leader, like kind of imagine a cult leader. That is basically one of my characters, and I really just want to up his charisma so that you're not in any doubt that people would follow him. So that's my goal for today, is like, I've already done a lot of that work in terms of like building up his charisma and making sure that he's super kind of like charismatic and not seductive, but like people want to follow him, you know, he's just got that likability. So I'm gonna go through again and just double check that there's no areas that I can really improve on there. And then I think I'm done, and I'm gonna send it across to my agent. I'm so happy that obviously in the month of January, I've just been focusing on these edits, and I'm officially done. Like, this is the end of it. And I obviously don't know if there's gonna be more edits off the back of this, or if we will be ready to go on submission. I will hopefully be able to do a vlog all about that process, kind of behind the scenes as I've been doing with this, but it's terrifying. The next step of the process is gonna be the bit that I think I'm gonna have to be really grounded for, because it's gonna be really scary. The idea of people that I've potentially worked with in my publishing career reading my novel and hopefully buying it is terrifying. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The journey is today to finish my edits and then send it across to my agent. So I'm really excited. Thank you all for being on this journey with me, but let's make a cup of tea and let's finish off these edits. And I've just sent them to my agent. I can't believe I've done it. I am literally just so excited about the next step. I've been very enigmatic here and not really revealing much about what the edits actually were. I really hope you get to read this book one day. It would mean the world to me. Do follow along for my writing journey here and on TikTok. I'm at Bookbelle Reads on there, and on Instagram, where I'm going to be making reels as well. So I think if you're wanting to know how to get a literary agent, how to query, or you just want an insight behind the scenes of the process, like, this is the place to be. So do hit that subscribe button if you want more videos like this. I really hope it's been helpful and that you've enjoyed this video, and I'm so happy that you're here right until the end if you are watching this part and you lasted throughout the end of the video and this quite tiresome journey of getting my edits done. So thank you again for watching. I love you guys all so much, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye.